A creature of darkness, exiled from happiness and the curse of God, destroyer and devourer of our humankind. I'm, of course, quoting from the epic poem Beowulf, and you are watching an episode of Classic Song Review. Welcome classic rock fans for an episode of Classic Song Review where classic tracks are excavated and explored. If you like my musings on music, I'll ask you to click like, subscribe and click that bell so you get notified of any future uploads. Also, if you're interested in extra content or other ways you can support my channel, please do check out my Patreon. Today we're going to be talking about the epic Marillion track Grendel. A little bit of contextual framing really. If you think about it, by 1982 the punk explosion was now just a lot of phlegm-drenched debris from which rises new romanticism, all lace and eyeliner. Of course the new wave of electronica had already mapped out a very barren and minimalistic landscape. Of course, a landscape that was formerly occupied by the prog giants of the 1970s. In 1982 Spandau Ballet had crooned the panties of a whole new generation, and the Jam were on the cusp of transmogrifying horribly into the Style Council. The only sanctuary left was the new metal bands, of course, that were announcing themselves in a testosterone-fueled tempest of power chords and biker jackets. Then up pops this very quirky single from a new band called Marillion, seemingly a call to arms. But it's not the A-side we're really concerned with for this review. We're more interested in that dark tale of otherness that occupies 20 minutes of vinyl of the flip side. I think Marillion seemed a little bit out of place when they first announced themselves, all sort of face paint and lengthy compositions reminiscent of the Gabriel era Genesis, of course. But they ushered in a whole new generation of music, as far as I'm concerned, dubbed neo-prog. And the best example of that, of course, is the epic Grendel, with its dramatic flourishes and gothic grandeur, a favourite of the fan base, of course, especially when performed live. It came across as a lengthy piece of soundscaping, if you like, with fish skulking across the stage like some purgatorial spirit. This song is often compared to Genesis' Supper's Ready, not always favourably. In fact, in terms of the origins of this track, Fish said in an interview dated 2012, they played this song called The Tower, which wasn't Grendel as you know it. As far as musically, the whole first section was different. They played this song which had the bit, sings the familiar bass line. I'm saying we can't do that, it's Supper's Ready. Indeed. Grendel, of course, is the monster from the epic poem Beowulf, but Marillion take their inspiration from a novel by John Gardner called Grendel, published in 1971. Of course, in Gardner's novel we are presented the tale from the monster's perspective. If I may quote Wikipedia, of course, they say that Gardner uses Grendel as a metaphor for the necessity of a dark side to everything, where the hero is only as great as the villain he faces. I don't think Gardner was the first to present Grendel in a sympathetic light. I think Seamus Heaney had already done so. But this is a well-established tradition in British literature and culture of very dark figures being presented as sort of charismatic anti-heroes. And Milton's Satan would be a prime example of that. Of course, Gardner's story is very much an attempt to focus on the hypocrisy of society, of civilization, which is exactly what the Marillion track does as well. It looks at the way we sort of cast out the ugly, so to speak. And the novel is filled with gorgeously colourful language, of course, which informs Fisher's own interpretation for this song, I believe. Interestingly, they say that Gardner modelled the character of Grendel on Jean-Paul Sartre. The music perfectly conjures up the right mood and textures for this tale, with its references to ocean fogs and the echoey vocals, and the perfect use of metaphorical instrumentation, the yawning guitars and the murmuring keyboards. The song is split up into 4 parts. It begins, of course, with that very medieval Celtic sounding guitar from Steve Rothery, and then we get Fish. Fish's voice adds to the drama and the theatricality of the piece, skulking around the stage like prog's answer to John Gielgud. The piece begins, of course, in Hrothgar's hall, where all the villagers are sort of locked themselves in behind oaken doors, as the song says, waiting for Grendel who stalks the night. It beautifully creates that sense of angst and anticipation. If we think about the lyrics, of course, and the phrasing, it is really interesting in this track. I mean, it starts off with a reference to Midnight Suns. Midnight Suns, of course, is alluding to the longest day, which was seen to have mystical qualities. Midnight Suns bids Moors farewell, retreats from charging dusk, a lovely dramatic verb there. Mountains echo curfew's bell. Of course, curfew's bell is the demanding all the villagers retreat behind their oaken doors, cower behind oaken doors, I think the song says. They place their faith in oaken doors and cower in candlelight. Lovely alliterative quality there. The panic seeps through blood-stained floors as Grendel stalks the night. That sense of dread and anticipation is palpable. And the way this song sets up Grendel as the monster of the piece is absolutely wonderful. Grendel, of course, is referred to as the earth-rim walker who seeks his meals and prepares the funeral pyres. And then you get the line, of course, the shaper's songs no longer heal their fear. Of course, a shaper was a medieval storyteller who would sing to the villagers to sort of quell fears, tell stories and things like that. Wooden figures and pagan gods stare blindly out to sea. Obviously, it seems to suggest that their faith is misplaced, I think. And that sense of desperation as well, appeal for help from ocean fogs, for saviour born of dreams. The first section of the song builds to a peak, which culminates in a wonderful solo by Steve Rothery, which falls away to reveal a very haunting melody, which is the perfect backdrop for Fisher's very enigmatic lyrics in which he describes Grendel as Mother Nature's bastard child shunned by leaf and stream, as he makes his way to the Hall of Hrothgar, an alien in an alien land seeking solace, really dramatically emphasising that sense of otherness and how Grendel is set apart from the villagers cowering in Hrothgar's hall. The shaper's lies, his poisoned tongue malign with mocking harp. Again, we're referring to the songs and the stories that the villagers have been telling themselves about Grendel. And I love that powerful piece of keyboard, sounds like a church organ from Mark Kelly, that announces Grendel's arrival. Hounds freeze in silence, bewitched by the reptile's spell. Sulphurous essence pervades around the grassy dell, has a very hell-like feel to it. It's like a lamb to the butcher's knife, and of course a lamb is lamb to the sacrifice, of course, is replete with rich with religious symbolism. Stellar heavens ignore even children's cries. The lyrics perfectly begin to conjure up the fear, dread of the villagers, really. I think we move into the suppers ready section of the song here. Hero's delusion with feet in his grave, lurker at the threshold, he cares not for the brave. Of course, lurker at the threshold is a reference to a novel by H.P. Lovecraft. As I've said, we get that bridge section as well. That bridge section is shall we say, a homage to Genesis' Suppers Ready. Then we get the final two verses, of course, where Grendel confronts the villagers and exposes the hypocrisy of their humanity. So you thought your bolts and your locks would keep me out. You should have known better after all this time. You're going to pay in blood for your vicious slander, with your ugly pale skins and your putrid blue eyes. Why should I feel pity when you kill your own and feel no shame? God's on my side, sure as hell I'm going to take no blame. Then, of course, we get the most powerful part, which is, you say you believe in all of Mother Nature's laws, you lust for gold with your sharpened knives, before he admonishes them with, then you try to place the killer's blade in my hand and call for justice and distort the truth. Well, I've had enough of all your pretty speeches. Receive your punishment. Expose your throats to my righteous claws, and let the blood flow, let the blood flow. Then as listeners, of course, we're immersed in that heart-wrenching and atmospheric final guitar piece by Steve Rothery. Interesting bit of trivia for you, of course, the actual mask that Fish wears in the recital of the script video is a replica of the one found in Sutton Hoo, Suffolk, which of course was the burial ground for one of England's first Christian kings. Anyway, you've been watching an episode of Classic Song Review. Please click like and subscribe. Check out the Facebook page. Don't have nightmares, and most of all, please do keep listening.